Hi everyone, I'm Nichole Dandrea, Russert, dietitian with Purely Planet and author of The Fiber Effect. And today I am going to bring to you a delicious, super flavorful, easy to make potato chickpea samosa burger. I have already prepared the ingredients, so I want to go over them. Once you have the ingredients in their place or mise en place, they are ready to go, and it's going to take you minutes to prepare this burger. But actually, I should mention, I'm not making burgers today. I'm actually making a little party appetizer. You can make these into burgers. They'll make about 8 patties, or you can make them into little round potato bites. Let's go over the ingredients. We have what I've already prepared. Very simple. The potatoes, it's basically 2 cups of potatoes. I've chopped them, boiled them for 10 minutes. They get soft in about 10 minutes with boiling. And then I've set them aside here so that they're ready to go. We are gonna mash these babies up in just a moment, and that's gonna make part of the base of the potato chickpea samosa burgers. And then next, I have ground the cashews. So this is 3/4 of a cup of raw cashews. I ground in the food processor. You can also use a cleaned out spice grinder if that's easier for you. So it's 3/4 of a cup of cashews. Set this aside as well. So this is all in preparation for your mise en place. And then, the next thing I ground was cauliflower. So I had a couple of small, took a big head and cut out some florets of cauliflower, put it into the same food processor or spice grinder, and ground that as well. So this is basically cauliflower rice. If you have pre-bagged cauliflower rice, you can even use that and make it even simpler. Cauliflower does get a little bit messy, and you won't use the whole head. So if you do, you can either double this recipe or plan to make another cauliflower recipe during the week so that you can use the rest of the head. So this is 1 cup of cauliflower rice. And then we have 1 cup of chickpeas cooked. You can either use homemade pre-cooked chickpeas, which is my favorite way to use chickpeas. They're so good when they're homemade. Or you can use store-bought. BPA-free canned store-bought chickpeas are totally fine. Just drain them, and then you're going to take 1 cup out of that can. So again, you'll have half a cup left over if you use a can, and you can use those chickpeas in salads, or you can bake them to make a crispy little snack. So there's other ways you can use them. And then, so these are all the ingredients that I just showed you are really going to act as the base of this burger and hold it all together. What you don't want to skip out on are these spices. It's 2 tablespoons of curry powder. We also have 1 tablespoon of onion powder, and then half a teaspoon of salt. So you can add a little bit more or less salt depending on your salty preference. So those are the spices. They're all going to go in together. So I've put them in the same little bowl here. And then we have, you also don't want to skip out on this ingredient because it's so good. Now you can substitute, this is green onion. It's a half a cup of sliced green onion. You can substitute yellow onion or white onion or red onion if you have that on hand. That's totally fine. But if you do have green onion, it gives this a really nice flavor and complements the spices so nicely. And then this one is optional. I'm personally a huge cilantro lover, but I know not everybody is. So if you are a cilantro lover, then you're gonna add 1/2 of a cup of chopped cilantro. If you don't love cilantro, or if you're making this for party guests and you don't know if everybody's gonna love cilantro, then you could use parsley in its place or chives. You could try basil. I honestly haven't tried it. I think it would go pretty well with this, but you might wanna try it on yourself before you make the whole recipe with basil. But yeah, parsley would work perfectly fine too, or you can omit it altogether. So we've got all of our ingredients ready. You boiled your potatoes, you ground your cashews, and you have your rice cauliflower. We are going to add the boiled potatoes to a large bowl. And then we're gonna add the chickpeas to that same bowl, and we are going to mash away. This is where you get to use some muscle. If you have a potato masher, whoa, getting so loud. If you have a potato masher, then use that. If not, then these mash perfectly well with a big fork. So you want to mash them so that all of the potatoes are mashed. and about 3/4 of the chickpeas are mashed. So by mashing all of the potatoes, it's going to ensure that these burgers stay together. And the chickpeas, if you leave just a little bit whole, it's going to add some texture to the burger. So make sure about 3/4 of them is mashed so that it does help to hold the burger together. But if there are a couple whole, then you're just going to get some nice texture and whole chickpeas in the burger. From here, the next step is adding the rest ingredients and stirring them in. And that is it. Then we're going to make our potato samosa bites or burgers, whichever you prefer. So I'm going to add the cauliflower. Now this cauliflower adds a lot of moisture. You'll notice that I'm not adding any liquids to this. Cauliflower adds a lot of moisture. And by the way, you don't want to use, or if you don't have cauliflower on hand, you can also use yellow squash. So chop up the yellow squash, chop it up, pretty small, and then get a full cup of yellow squash. And that actually works really well in this recipe. Okay, so there's the 3/4 of a cup of ground cashews. So we're gonna mix this together. And by the way, whenever I make burgers, I feel like sometimes they come together perfectly, and you may experience this too, and sometimes they seem a little bit dry or a little too moist. If you have either problem, so if they're too moist, I'll usually add a little bit of oat flour or almond flour to the mixture, and that usually pulls it together, or even flax meal. If they're too dry, then you can always add a little bit of vegetable broth. I would just add like a couple tablespoons at a time until you reach that consistency where it's going to hold it all together. You don't want to oversaturate it. Some people choose to use oil. You could use that as well if you use oil in your cooking. Okay, next we're gonna add our beautiful spices, the 2 tablespoons of curry powder, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. Next, finally, we are gonna add the green onion and the cilantro if you are indeed adding it, or parsley, or no herbs at all, whatever is your choice. But the onion and the spices, they're kind of non-negotiable and delicious in this. One more mix. I'm gonna get this guy out of the way because we're getting ready to just add it to our baking sheet. Oh, one thing, very important. You want to preheat the oven to 400, so don't forget to do that. So as you can see, I'll just show you what it looks like. This does get about 8, now it feels very moist. I think the potatoes just needed to be mashed a little bit more. So you could get about 8 burger patties out of that, and they're delicious burger patties. You can use traditional like naan with them, and you can add a mint chutney to it, or a vegan yogurt or yogurt sauce. But today, same thing, you can serve these with a mint chutney or a yogurt sauce. I actually have a jalapeno pepper sauce that I'm gonna serve with these. So these are the little bites. So if you're having any summer gatherings, friends and family over, these bites make really delicious little snacks, and they're so flavorful. You actually don't need any sauce or dip with them at all, but it does add a little bit to it. They're so good. Okay, our samosa potato chickpea bites are ready. And if you can see them, I'll actually hold one up. They've been cooling for just a little bit, but that is what they look like. They're a little browned on either side. We flipped them halfway through, so they baked for 30 minutes. They're nice and crispy, and they're gonna be nice and moist on the inside. They're so good. The house smells phenomenal. I think you're gonna love the aroma. It's like It's like the culinary aromatherapy when you make these. My husband Ricky is in a movie tonight. I'm very excited. So I'm gonna surprise him with a little party appetizer, and we're gonna have a little bit of wine to celebrate. The movie's called Queen Bees. If you wanna check it out, he plays Pablo Leon, the pool aerobics instructor for a retirement community. So it should be hilarious. And then I have 2 sauces that are ready to go, and I made them just to make sauces to have for fun. And they ended up being something that I didn't know what I was going to do with. So I was like, now I have these great sauces and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them. So it's always good to have a plan. If you make a sauce, it's good to have like a whole meal planned out. So what is that sauce going to go with? Maybe it's good for a grain bowl or a salad or a veggie dip. So most of the sauces are pretty versatile. You can see I keep grabbing this little one. I'm just going to pop this in my mouth in a second because it's too small to put on that plate, because it's not uniform in size. So I'm trying to make it a little bit pretty. So I'm gonna put the samosa bites along the edges, not along the edges, on top of each other. And then I've got the 2 sauces that I made. So I don't have these recipes on my website yet, but they will be coming soon. I do have a sauce to go with this, 2 things to go with these potato samosa bites, by the way. I've got a mint chutney recipe with the potato samosa bites on the same blog that goes phenomenally with these. We actually have mint growing in our garden. It's growing like a tree, so I'm probably gonna end up making that too. But yes, it's very refreshing. It's great for these. And then also I have a cucumber raita that is made with cashews. It's super creamy, super delicious, and it goes, in fact, the mint chutney and the cucumber raita both go perfectly together with these. So I would definitely encourage you to make those with it if you make these bites. If you don't, they're great by themselves as well. You can also put like a little hot sauce on it if you have that on hand and you like hot sauce. This is a jalapeno. It started as like a salsa verde and I added walnuts to it, so now it's more like a dip. So I felt like I needed like a little bit of fat with it. It just felt too light as the salsa verde. So I added some walnuts. It's a little bit of a dip. And then I also have a lemon tahini sauce that I'm also going to serve with this. So now we are ready to kick back, watch our movie, have a little sip of wine, and eat our appetizer. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Nichole Dandrea Russert once again, author of The Fiber Effect and dietitian with Purely Planted, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.